Happy Saturday, everybody. It's Rendezvous. Just going through my Smoke Notes book here, looking back on a couple of cooks. Had a couple questions about the bacon and cheese egg rings, onion rings, and did a Mississippi pot roast yesterday. Got some other big cooks planned. Evening. Hey, what's up? Big Chess, Cassie's BBQ. Thanks for hopping on here, guys. Mary Snell. So, I was just going to talk a little bit about this Smoke Notes book. I'm sure everybody has something, little recipe book or something, or a container maybe keep your recipes in. I released this here on Instagram a couple weeks ago. It's got a place for the recipe, grill temp, cook time, wood fuel, ingredients, and notes. And the thing I like about keeping something together like this, it's all in one place. But the other nice thing is it makes it pretty easy to share my recipes. So a couple of you have probably seen some screenshots where I've shared out of here. For instance, in the ingredients, pretty self-explanatory, or in the notes. Found one of the things that's helped improve my barbecue the most is actually writing stuff down and keeping track, studying a little bit. It's kind of think about professional athletes or anybody that's trying to perfect a trade or a craft. It's like studying, looking at the tape, spending time, looking at what the other team's doing. So I spent a fair amount of time. People ask me what I do with my Instagram account. A lot of what I do on here is see what everybody else is cooking and then plan cooks for the weekend like today. So got 3 full freezers full of meat. And plan is to be cooking basically every weekend this fall. Just got a whole steer about a month and a half ago from Del Fox Meats in Stanwood. Drove over and picked it up, USDA processed. So first time in a long time I'd actually given a cut sheet to a butcher. It's pretty cool to get to decide what all the cuts are going to be, breaking down the big primal cuts, of beef. I'm sure you've all seen a beef chart in a store or posted somewhere online. But yeah, that was a cool experience. Worked with Byron at Del Fox Meats, a couple other local beef producers on here that I tune in to from time to time. Have been using them, and just happened our family farm had a couple of steers come open, so I spoke for them and got them processed. If you've seen a couple of my latest recipes, I made some New York strips the other night with the rosemary and garlic butter method. Those were from Del Fox Meats, processed at Del Fox Meats from our family farm. Then I had chuck roast last night. I cooked most of yesterday as Mississippi pot roast. So that was fun. And, a lot of that is just trying out a new recipe. So I'm out here in my garage today working through my smoke notes from that last cook. And just writing down tips, notes, things to improve for next time. I actually think that would be good with the sirloin tip roast, maybe even eye of round. It's got ranch packet seasoning and a whole stick of butter in it, so it's great for Dutch oven. It's got some braising liquid in there with beef stock. But yeah, I just pretty chill Saturday here. Looking forward to some cooks today, see what everybody else is cooking. Let's look back here and see. Greetings from Germany. Wie geht es Ihnen? That's cool. It's fun to have followers from all over the place on here. It's funny, since there's some folks from Germany in here, I did cook German pumpkin soup last week, and that was a fun cook. Kürbis Cremesuppe is its name. Basically starting with a whole pumpkin and breaking the pumpkin down, taking out all the seeds inside, quartering it up, smoked it for I don't know, about 45 minutes. I should look here in my smoke notes book, but yeah, it was about a 45-minute smoke at 225. Pulled it, got the flesh really nice and soft on the pumpkin. Removed it from the skin, which had a nice caramelized look to it. Put it in a tall stock pot with some chicken stock and garlic and onion, a little bit of salt and pepper. Actually, I think just salt, no pepper. And ran that for, got my little helper out here, ran that for about another 20 minutes on simmer until the pumpkin flesh was all the way broke down. And then finish that off as a puree with some heavy whipping cream in a blender. So I don't think it's only a German thing, Gossies. I think it's, it's interesting. The recipe I found was something I had when I lived in Austria for a year and really enjoyed during Oktoberfest. And sometimes that's what my cooks are inspired by, just going finding recipes of stuff I've had before or branching out. This year we grew a bunch of pumpkins in our family garden, and so it was a neat opportunity to harvest something and show the kids, cook from start to finish. Kids running around here, they love to help us out, cook, eat, obviously. Although it's pretty funny, they're some of our toughest critics on stuff we cook. So, but no, I don't think it's only a German thing. I think this one, it's got cream. I know you can make a pumpkin puree for pumpkin pie, or people are into pumpkin spice. I've seen a couple of people in recent days just doing pumpkin seeds, which is pretty straightforward. But yeah, it's fun to use something. I was going to share this. I was cooking for my dad's girlfriend a couple weeks ago, and she's got a Traeger. She's had it for like 4 or 5 years. And, I was cooking some potatoes in a cast iron skillet with some beef tallow and onions and shallots and garlic. And she was like, oh man, I didn't even think to cook vegetables on a Traeger. And it's just so secondhand for a lot of us who are in the grill community or smoking to think about all the different stuff, we make on the smoker. It's not just meat. But last couple of days, you've seen some more cooks like that. Had my neighbor here bring me over some shishito peppers, which I hadn't really tried before. Nice mild flavor in that Mississippi pot roast. Trying to think of some other vegetables. Oh, using the rosemary out of the garden this year. That was fun. And yeah, basically there's all kinds of opportunities to get fresh. Made some pizzas recently with basil right out of the herb garden. Had some potatoes go a little bit bad this year, unfortunately. We harvested them and then had them sitting out in like a plastic tote, and they got sunlight, so they went green pretty quick. What's up, Arthur? In the house? Yeah, Gossy, so I should try that. Okay, coconut milk and ginger. I'm actually writing down this pumpkin soup recipe. But, okay, so what did you say? Coconut milk and ginger. Milk, ginger. Okay, yeah. I got that here in the Smoke Notes book. So I'll be hopefully trying that out again. It's good to use with a sugar pumpkin or a pie pumpkin. That's what all the recipes call for. Some of the bigger pumpkins aren't as sweet. But I was thinking about trying it savory, but I like this coconut milk and ginger approach. So I'm gonna give that a whirl. I'll probably smoke it again, 225, and then cook it for another 45 minutes. Now, do you smoke that, or is that something you roast in the oven, Gossy? Hokkaido. Okay, I'll check that out. Hokkaido. Nice. Joe, what's up? Van Liff, I got your hat around here somewhere. It's probably in with my hat collection. Or pumpkins. Yeah, butternut squash. So tonight, the missus asked me to cook a butternut squash. So I may do that. I may run butternut or a spaghetti squash. I think we've got a couple coming out of the garden to use. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I was just reviewing some of the recent cooks for some of you that just hopped on here. I had a whole steer processed from our family farm, USDA. Filled up all of our freezers for the next little bit here. And so I got a lot of beef to cook, pretty low on my pork stock. So probably not going to be eating or cooking much pork this winter. Wife and kids like chicken, so we'll be making some barbecue chicken here coming up. Did have a couple of whole chickens from Ayers Valley Farms in Ohio and worked through those. Got my Weber rotisserie all set up today in case I want to put those squashes in the grill. Okay, buddy. In case I want to put those squash in the rotisserie, get a nice caramelized flavor on them. But with the butternut squash, I'll probably go with maybe some nutmeg, some cinnamon. Check that out. Christian, what's up? Welcome to the live stream. So I got about, 5-10 minutes here or more. Like I said, just hop on, see what everybody's up to, talk through some of my recent cooks, share my Smoke Notes book. A lot of this stuff that's coming right out of here we're talking about. Just reviewing my notes from the cooks the last couple of weeks, things I want to change, go back to. Grills these days that I'm using a Camp Chef Woodwind, which is pretty nice. I sold a couple of my Traegers last winter and this summer. Still have a Traeger Ranger, but my other Traeger I sold had a 22-inch that I'd had for like 6 or 7 years. So sold that. Thinking about upgrading here next couple of months. That it should be fun. Okay, so there's some questions here. Can you be my personal chef, please? Yeah. Well, let's see. Probably not. It's funny how often I get that, hey, do you have a restaurant or a pop-up? I have done some nonprofit cooks, and I'll probably do a couple of those soon. Met up with one of our IG friends here, Pitch Faz from Arizona, who's got some food trucks. And, believe it or not, like a lot of folks, I'm sure I've looked into a couple of different trailer ideas, but don't really have the time for it at the moment. And just got a lot of other projects. So for right now, it's all backyard cooking. But yeah, if people want to have a meetup sometime, do a cook, I'd looked into doing a couple of those at some barbecue joints when I've traveled around. So if I get on the road, I'll come see you. Making any birria soon? Any birria tips? Yeah. So basically, I have been doing a lot of birria now that I've got all this pot roast and chuck roast. I'll probably see a couple of those coming soon. I was actually going to take some of this leftover Mississippi pot roast and make them into either empanadas or something else. I've got some corn husks. I forget what I was going to use those for, but I've got some maseca, and it's kind of funny. While I love making those tacos, there's a lot of work that goes into it. I think the biggest tip for me is going to be getting that seasoning on them in the beginning and getting the roast really well browned, so you've got some better texture to it. Sometimes that pot roast can get a little flimsy, and so it's nice to have a little bit more to the bite there. Sometimes it's nice to have that texture, and so I just found a lot of that comes from searing the roast off first, which isn't necessarily natural or something a lot of people do, but when you're making birria, I think that's a must. And also seasoning it liberally with salt, pepper, garlic. Now on the pepper selection, I did have a tip on birria and again, this is just from my Smoke Notes. So probably what I should do, Arthur, is post my birria recipe. It's a combination of Seattle Butcher's Wife, Salty Cucina, and Miguel at Cooking with Fire. It's just a composite recipe from them. But there's 3 chiles that you can get in the grocery store in the Hispanic section or off of like Spiceology.com. I was actually talking with Spiceology about packaging them up in like a cart that anybody could get referred to and just check out, because it does require a little bit of knowledge about the heat of those peppers. As I learned with the shishitos, only 1 in 10 shishitos is hot. But for the birria, I think another important tip is to activate the peppers so you get the full flavor from them. I've only started really getting into peppers in the last 3 or 4 months as I grew some in the garden this year. But I'd say a big piece of that, I've seen them kind of flash fried in a little bit of oil in a pan, and then almost steeped like a tea in like a Starbucks cup or some other kind of insulated cup with boiling hot water, out of your Keurig or something, or out of your coffee craft, and then about a 30-minute steep on those peppers. And then I like to blend the peppers right into the Ninja. And then I take off the stems, but I don't take the seeds out. I think the seeds add a lot when it's steeping in terms of the heat, especially with the guajillo, pasilla peppers, and chili de arbol. Those are the 3 that I like to use, and it's important, to know what Scoville is, if you like heat, if you don't like heat. Some of that's more, those peppers just give like an earthy type flavor. Some of them have, taste more like a bell pepper or something. But the pasilla and the guajillo, I don't think are spicy. It's really that chili de arbol, which is like, 500 to 1,000 or maybe 2,500 on the Scoville index. So I do like to take a metal strainer or a plastic strainer and get the seeds out before I put them back in with the roast. And I think the other big tip is just letting the roast run long enough in the Dutch oven, or if you're going to smoke it first and brown it first, letting it get that fork tender, that fall apart tender, which is usually around 205, 208 degrees. But that's a good reminder. Arthur, I'll go out here in my smoke notes and update that cook here, if you can read my handwriting, or maybe I'll type it out and then post it in my stories, and link to Seattle Butcher's Wife, Salted Cucina, and Cooking with Fire. Chef Q Soto over in Oregon's got a great birria recipe. It's more kind of on the line cooking for like restaurant style. What I've been making is more backyard barbecue, a little bit more time. And so there are some shortcuts, because basically all you're doing is infusing flavor into a pot roast. 3 flames, Arthur. So game plan for today, probably check out football game, get some game day snacks ready for tomorrow. Those bacon wrapped onion rings kind of took off. Probably do some more game day wings. I got that butternut squash I need to cook. Got to finish off that Mississippi pot roast. But I'm going to be studying my smoke notes. If anybody wants a link to buy one of these, it's just a little notebook that I've created, download on Amazon. Kind of fun to have. Keep track of all your cooks. If anybody started on the Traeger cookbook, there's like 20 or 30 kind of recipes to master in there, and then you can get off and going. But in addition to having a couple of recipe books around the house, things like keto barbecue books, or some of Stephen Reichel's books, or Myron Mixon's books, I just now keep my own. So I got smoke notes. It's available on Amazon and Kindle. Just pumping that out a little bit. Anybody can make one of these. You can keep your smoke notes in a yellow lined pad notebook. But had a couple of questions just about recipe management, where I get my recipes, do I create my own, etc. And just to close it off here, that's one thing I love about the barbecue community on Instagram, is there's a lot of sharing of tips and tricks. And somebody asked me, what the point of my account is. Am I on here working direct to consumer with different brands, or what's kind of the point, or what's my why? And I just love backyard barbecue. I love sharing what I cook. Love sharing what I cook with the family and friends. This just gives me a little bit bigger outlet and community to share it with. So that's kind of my new why. And you'll see things like smoke notes and others, blog posts. I'm really hoping to up my recipe content in the next couple of months. So you'll see some of that with recipes and barbecue from all over the world. I was doing some research on Korean barbecue, and I got some cooks coming up planned with Korean barbecue, some Brazilian gaucho style barbecue coming up. Excited to get beyond, some of the churrasco recipes and other stuff I've done before. So, stay tuned, see what we got going. Keep the questions coming. Thanks for all the engagement and interaction on my account. It's always fun to see a video take off or comments and respond back and get, as much of that back and forth as possible. Keep the questions coming, keep the ideas coming. By no means an expert, but love sharing the craft with all of you. So gonna get going with my assistant here, and we're gonna get rolling on barbecue for the day. You guys have a good one.